Welcome to Rack of the Week 237. Hey, we're going to play some straight pool today, but it's about time we feature another female straight pool player on the channels. We're going to take a look at a rack by Samm Diep. A lot of you know Samm. She's a professional instructor based out of Denver. I've known her for a long time. She's also a national 8-ball champion. Samm's play illustrates something that's really critical for your straight pool game, for any pool game for that matter. And so we're going to take a close look at that. And then you're going to want to stay to the end because she does something else that dovetails with the first point. So there's a little surprise bonus at the very end. First, well, you know the routine. On the screen, you see the names of my supporters from Patreon and YouTube. Thank you very much for your support. And go to shortstoponpool.com. Check out my Ghost Tamers, Ghost Bridge, Ghost Alliance Bridge Mates, and my straight pool book. Just this week, new product came out. I put together a little children's book. It's an ABC book for children that's pool themed, and it's available for pre-sale. If you purchase the PDF version, you can download it right now. The printed copies are going to be here by the end of the month, and I'll ship them by October 1st. But you can order yours right now to reserve your copy. Go to shortstoponpool.com. Check that out. Okay, let's take a look at this rack of the week. I'm going to hit play on this. Samm is walking in to the right side of your screen. I won't point anything out to begin with, but we'll let her shoot this break shot. This is towards the middle of a run. She put together a number of racks and was very excited to tell me about it. So as you can tell, this is a pretty difficult break shot. She's got a very sharp angle. The ball's kind of low and close to the rack, and the cue ball's above the side pocket, a long distance away. Let's take a look at the results of this break shot. I think that object ball went in center pocket. Because of the angle off from the ball, you saw the cue ball go 2 rails out of the corner naturally. She didn't have any spin on it. It just took this angle naturally out of the corner, and the ball's opened up pretty well. But we're going to rewind this and look again because I want to point something out. Watch Samm when she walks in from the side of the screen. She just finished racking the balls, grabs her pool cue. Did you see that? Head down, looking at the break shot in line with the pocket and the object ball. Now, she did it pretty quickly because she practices at this and does it a lot. But it's a definite element in the shot routine, especially for break shots in straight pool. Okay, she's got her cue. She's got chalk in her hand now. Another look. Only then, behind the cue ball. Has she bent over the shot yet? No. She has not. Standing fully upright behind the cue ball, looking at the object ball, visualizing the shot. Look at that. Making sure. Standing upright, the cue stick's pointed over the shot line, and when she begins to enter the shot, her cue stick is on the shot line, her grip hand is on the line, and she's just swinging the Q-tip down into position on the line, and her head follows down into position on the line. It looks pretty casual because we see pro players and other players alike doing this. And she's not doing it real slowly because she's practiced at it. She does it a lot. But I just want to make an extra point of how important this is. This is the shot, I call it trust the process. This is part of Samm's process. And what gets Samm through this racket and this run was trusting the process. That is how you get through difficult shots. You got a critical 8-ball in a league match. You got a difficult break shot in the straight pool rack. Long, difficult 9-ball that your opponent left you. Trust the process. You have to have a process to trust the process. Now, did you watch her? I'm going to have her shoot it again. So she's doing her warm-ups, and I'll play it again. I want you to notice her eyes, because her eyes are going to the cue ball, to the object ball, cue ball, object ball. As she does her warm-ups, and then when she's ready to shoot, her eyes come up to the cue ball and stay there still for a couple of seconds. Okay, so everything's down on the line. See the eyes down, up, down, now up. Final time. Yeah, there's the final time, up. Because what I'm going to do is, I apologize, Samm, but I'm going to draw an outline around your head and also around your elbow. And I do this to myself a lot. Now we're going to watch her shoot. Now the cue ball is long gone, and the object ball is almost to the pocket. Her head stayed still. Now she's looking up a little. She's looking at the object ball from a down position, down on the cue stick. A lot of players, when they shoot this shot, by the time the object ball gets this far, their head would be way up here. Sam's trained hard for this, as a lot of us have. You've got to stay still. Now, her elbow is down a little bit, but I invite you to watch Sam. I'm not going to point out every shot, but I invite you to watch when she shoots and watch how still her head and her elbow are. In fact, when you watch pro players, this is something you can do for practice. Forget about the balls. Don't even look at the balls. Not the object balls, not the cue balls. Try watching an entire pro match. Watch your favorite pro player and just watch their head, their elbow, and their eyes and see what you can learn. You notice she breathed a little sigh of relief. She knew that was a tough shot, but you don't engage in those thoughts until the shot's over. Before that, it's just execute the process. Trust the process. All right, let's take a look at the rack real quick. She's only got one shot. Really, this 15 ball, she could cut this ball, but there's no reason to take that on. So just make the ball, watch her head and elbow, stay still. Look at that, frozen in time until the cue ball got all the way over here. That's what you want to do. So the first shot, you're often just pocketing. You don't want to do a lot. You're just making sure you make the ball, get the cue ball down here into the cabbage patch where you can do some work. And now the cue ball can hopefully be on more of a string. So bringing the cue ball up, I believe for the 3 ball, unless if the 2 ball goes, I'm not sure. Or the 11 ball might go. Let's take a look at what she's looking at. So notice she hasn't bent over to shoot yet. She walked around and looked from here. She's walking around from here. Now she's walking over and looking here, pointing to somewhere on the clock. So this is part of the process. She went over and looked at the shot line to the 7, and it strikes the way all over here. So where do I want my cue ball to go from the 7, 3 to the 7? All these things, they may not seem all that important. They may seem trivial. They don't take very much time. They're absolutely critical because they're all part of the process. Did Sam just walk over here and bend over and shoot this ball? I mean, it's an easy shot. No. Walk over to the head of the table, stand upright, look. She bent over to see what angle she wanted on the 1 ball. Stayed still while the cue ball was moving. You stay in the down position and watch the balls roll from the down position at the finish of your shot. So now she's electing. I'll make a real quick comment here. Sam's electing to go into these balls, and that's okay. The reason why it's okay is because the rails are clear. So these balls are going to move out, but they're not going to move towards other balls and tie up. If there were other balls, I might be more inclined to look for a way to pick your way around this rack. So, for example, if there was a ball over here, then you would play the 1 ball, shoot this ball and get a low angle on the 4 to go up into them that way. Then you can do it with more control, hopefully having the 12 or the 13 as insurance. So there's times to go into the balls. There's times to leapfrog around the balls. So I'm okay with, you wouldn't have to do it, but I'm okay with this decision. I'll be critical in one little way. Okay, so you left yourself tough here. Why? Anytime you're going into a cluster, a rebreak type situation where you're not certain of your next shot, you've got to get some top spin on the cue ball. You got to get that cue ball spinning forward. So she needed it to go on a tangent line to hit the cluster like that, and she did it with speed. I mean, she did it with Q-tip position, but you can do it with speed by getting a lot of top spin on the cue ball. Then when your cue ball hits those balls, it bounces back and goes forward again. And then the cue ball gets loose and you don't have a tricky shot to start. All in all, though, she's handling it very well. I think she would have preferred the cue ball to strike the 13 and then the 2. It would have kept the cue ball down table, and then the 2 ball wouldn't have run up table. Now, this is not an ideal rack. The balls don't lay real well. There's no clear break shot. How do you get through this? Trust the process. Samm has a good process, and that's what makes it possible to just keep just one shot at a time. She's walking around looking at angles, look at angles again, and then trust the process. That's the theme of this rack of the week, and that's how she's able to get through this. This reminds me of a rack of the week I did a long time ago. I featured Michael Yednek, and I called the rack, what did I call it? Fortitude. Same thing. Michael ran a very difficult rack. None of the balls laid well. There was no break shot, all kinds of trouble everywhere. He got through the rack. Fortitude, trusting the process, kind of dovetail. I'm going to come to the bonus point that I want to make in a little while. Now, I think that when on that last shot, Samm was trying to nudge the 12, then she might have had this ball in the side or the 12 in the corner or something else and didn't get that position. But she was shooting a combination, and it's more important to make sure you pocket the ball than get good position. When you have a combination, God, just make sure you make the ball. So she did that. Now she's got to come with a tough clutch shot. How do you make tough clutch shots when you need to? Trust the process. And that's what she did. That 2 ball, she was cutting it somewhat thin, and the cue ball came short, which is an excellent way to play it, because if the cue ball comes long, you could go past these balls and scratch, or you could run into balls, which you don't want to do. How did she get it short? If you look at the shot, let's look at where she cued the cue ball. She's not addressing the bottom of the cue ball. She's not trying to draw the ball out of there. And it's a little bit of speed. In fact, she put quite a bit of speed on it. It's the same thing that I was mentioning on a shot earlier in this rack. You don't want the cue ball. You're going to have a little bit of top spin. The cue ball is going to have some forward spin here. You don't want the cue ball to go forward, because then it takes the long angle and scratches or hits these balls. How do you get it to go short out of the corner when you're not going to cue at the bottom of the ball, which I definitely wouldn't cue at the bottom of the ball in this shot? You do it with speed, because the harder you hit it, the longer the cue ball stays on the tangent line before it loops forward. Just that little bit of difference gives you a short route out of the corner, which comes to this rail. It's hitting 2 reverse rails, which is going to make it straighten up. And guess what? You've got balls that go into this pocket. So that's a really well-played shot for that reason. See how that speed got it to go shorter out of the corner? So you avoid the scratch, and then you can hit it hard, because the cue ball's hitting those rails. Those last 2 rails are reverse rails, which are just going to knock all kinds of speed off the cue ball. Keeps it under control right here where the balls are. Now, there's still no good break shot. You might have been trying to nudge the 5 either over this way or below the rack, but she had a sharp angle, couldn't quite get it. But like I said earlier, when you're in a tough situation like that, you don't get to shoot if you miss. So never sacrifice pocketing the ball to get perfect position. Make the ball. Now, obviously, from here, she's got to shoot the 13. So there's 2 options. She's looking at where she wants to be to pocket the 5. Yeah. She's right. Do you notice what she's doing right there? She wants to get over here for the 5, so she can play position for the 8 in this side. You just looked at the 90-degree tangent line, because she'll want to shoot the 5 and get the cue ball back here on this side of the shot line, so that she can send the cue ball into the top of the rack. That's what she's trying to do. It's a difficult thing to do from here. The other option from here is to simply just tap this 13 in, and then play shoot the 8 and play the cue ball up here or up here. Then you have an angle on the 5 when it gets spotted, and you can go to the side rail and down. Now, that's a difficult position to achieve, and it's a really difficult break shot. But I'm just pointing it out that the opportunity's there. I think if I were in Samm's shoes, I'd do the same thing she's doing. So she's taken a good long time, and this is what it takes. Make a really clear plan in your mind of where you want that cue ball for that 5. Give yourself the best chance to get on that 2. Now, I'm not sure if that's where she wanted. It might have been what she decided finally at the end. No, yeah. Okay. So she's abandoned the idea of shooting this in the side. She wants to come up here. You just saw her sight at that, because then she can shoot the 8-ball here, and she's clearing the pocket for that, because then the cue ball can hit the side of the rack. Now that sometimes leads to a scratch, but if you get a shallow angle and a lot of topspin, your cue ball can hook off the side of the rack without scratching. And this is a really difficult spot, and that's part of the reason why I'm showing this. I mean, it can work to get this angle and shoot the 8 in the side, but it's really tough to get there. Yeah, and she didn't quite get to where she wanted. Yeah, a little body English didn't help. She's on the wrong side of the ball. Oh, well. Okay, so that's another reason why I chose this rack. What do you do? She's on the wrong side of the ball, doesn't have a good shot. As far as straight pool break shots goes, it's a very bad angle. The cue ball is going to go this way. She's got to use probably some inside spin to bring the cue ball back and hit the top of the rack. A very low percentage break shot. So what do you do when you're faced with a shot like that? Don't think about outcome. You can't control that. Just focus on what? Trust the process. Okay, we need to make the ball. We need to put a nice firm follow stroke. We need to get a little inside English on the cue ball. That's what you want to do. Notice she's off screen, settling herself, looking at angles, making a decision, standing upright, cue stick over the shot line before she comes down onto the line. All the same things I talked about before. You can watch her head. It's a little bit off screen, but you can watch how still she stays. Watch the 8-ball and the cue ball this time. Watch, look at that reaction. I'll play it again. That is a heck of a reaction. Look at how happy she is. Whoa, I got the shot. This is something that you rarely get in other games to this extent. And it's one of the great, look how happy she is. It's one of the great things about straight pool. The reason why is straight pool is the only game where as long as you pocket the ball, you can keep shooting. It doesn't end. That's the reason why that much joy happens on a shot like this. She knew it was low percentage, yet it can happen if you do what? Trust the process. So you don't get ahead of yourself. You don't get in the future. You can have the joy after the shot. This is a tight cluster. There's only a couple balls loose, and there's nothing. Where are you going to play the cue ball off this 10 ball? Some of you know, and this is a pro level shot that Samm shoots. I'm not going to tell you till she shoots it. So she's studied the rack, which balls go where, what's her best opportunity. Watch the execution on this shot. Head still, watch, boom. 3 rails short to come down and get a low angle on the 1 to shoot at the balls and go for a rebreak. That's perfect straight pool. That's a pro level straight pool shot. She saw it, she knew it, and executed it well. Notice how short she came in the corner here? That's confidence, knowing where that cue ball's going. And then the next shot, I talked about before she shot that 8-ball break shot, it was low percentage shot, low percentage to hit the rack, low percentage to even come away with a shot. And yet, she did. 2 shots later, what do you think her odds are getting through this rack? They just went through the roof. That's straight pool, folks. That's why it's one of the best games ever. And how do you get through tough racks? How do you make tough shots in any game? Trust the process. Congratulations, Samm. And hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're going to play pool, play it straight. See you next week on Rack of the Week. Bye.